Hi, everyone. Welcome to Walking in Authority with Heather Smith. Tonight, we're going to talk about the importance of healing. And my guest is Tyree.
Hello.
So, the original thing that was going to happen fell through. However, that's okay because we got this. So, I wanted to talk about healing because I know, especially for myself, for a very long time, I really did not understand how important it was to heal. I thought that shoving my feelings down, putting them in a closet, under a rug, in a box, all of the places besides to actually feel them was what was best because it's hard. Feeling your feelings are very hard and sometimes seem very undoable. So I know for many, many years, I didn't really care to deal with the things that I'd been through, to deal with the things that I've done. So I chose to stuff them away somewhere. However, that gets you nowhere. It absolutely does nothing except for just make it grow and grow and grow and fester into some big old bomb until somebody lights that fuse and you explode. Um, whenever you are not healed from your past and you don't deal with the things that you've been through and the things that you've done, you not only can hurt yourself, but you hurt others because then you start to bleed on people that literally have nothing to do with what you've been through or what you're currently going through. So, Tyree, what you got to say about the importance of healing? Why you think it's important to heal?
You covered most of everything I was going to say. No, it's something that I've struggled with personally for a while. Um, so I'd have to say, so that bomb you were talking about, I was really good at that, right? So not only that, right? Healing from the importance of healing from your past, healing from things you've done, things that have been done to you, things uh, I don't know, done indirectly towards you, as the case may be, is very important for your present day and future as well. It definitely hindered my past, not allowing those old feelings and old hurts and heartbreaks and letdowns and just so many different things that are allowed to basically control my life. Um, but once you get to that point where you're able to truly let them go and truly heal from them or deal with them or whatever the case may be, uh, my life personally got a lot easier, a lot simpler. Not saying it's perfect by no means, and not saying that I'll never struggle with anything again. But those things that I held on to for years from childhood and on up, that, as you said, I just stuffed down, and never dealt with. Um, yeah, it's wonderful. I love it. It's freeing. It's
Mm-hmm.
definitely a release. It's definitely you find peace, you find joy again. You start experiencing different things that you close yourself off from, trying to protect yourself from something that happened to you in the past. So that's amazing. I love it.
Yeah, I think that also, whenever you're not healed from things that you've dealt with in your past, you definitely, like you had said, you hinder yourself from the things that could be, possible for you now, is because you are dealing with whether it's things that you spoke over yourself or whether it's things that other people spoke over you or other situations that made you feel some type of way about something. It makes you believe or lack thereof belief in
Yes.
yourself
Yeah.
for the things that God could possibly be trying to do in your life. I know for myself, and I'm sure a lot of people can relate to it, and I'm sure even Tyree can, that life, going through life and your trials and your tribulations, they can cause you to feel some type of way about yourself. And whenever you're not healed from those situations, then you can start to believe or not believe in yourself. So the
Most
things
definitely.
that maybe you want in life, the things that you might feel that God's trying to do in your life, you don't believe that you're capable. You don't believe that you're worthy. You don't believe that you're enough. And so you lack the motivation, you lack the determination and the passion and the fire that's needed to get to the level that God's trying to take you to. And so whenever you are not healed, you're not going to really truly believe and be able to stand in that worth and that authority that God has for you because you're not healed. Maybe it's things that were spoke over you, like you're not good enough, you'll never amount to nothing, you're not ever going to be anything, you're just
Mm-hmm.
stupid, you're dumb, you're ugly, you're this, you're that. And then we start to wear those labels as like something that we're very proud of.
Yeah.
And whenever we don't heal from those things, then we outwardly become those things, not intentionally, but we start to act and move accordingly to the things that were spoke over us. And if we don't take the time to heal from that, then that's we're just going to continue to walk in that disbelief or that lack thereof believing your own worth.
Yeah, that definitely. Yes, you are correct. I've definitely experienced that. I also want to piggyback on what you said at the beginning about the bleed off. That is something that's oh man, that can be crucial. And there again, that's something I've experienced. It's give situations where people may be trying to encourage you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, to look. I mean, to look at yourself better or to boost your self esteem, or it's not that they're lying, but that hurt that you have from the past, for me at least, would make me think that, hey man, look, you're just trying to. What motives do you have? Like, why are you telling me that I'm a good person? Why are you telling me that I'm this and that? In all actuality, they were speaking from their heart, and they were speaking from the person that they were seeing or that they knew I could be,
Mm-hmm.
but that past, that didn't heal from or allow to, you're worthless, you're nobody, you're all that was ingrained so deep that I thought that the person who was trying to actually, build me up or speak truth and positivity into my life had different motives. I couldn't think of the
Yeah.
word, but anyway, yeah. So that bleed off is something else, and that I went across the board with my kids, family, friends. It didn't matter, It was just it wasn't. Now, I'm not gonna say everything, but most of it wasn't them with different motives or
Mm-hmm.
different ideals of trying to get over on me or deceive me. Or it was all in here. It was all me. With so, but that was definitely that caused a lot of difficulties and hardships that were I brought amongst myself simply for me not being able to let go of the past and heal from it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I know it, like you were saying, even for me, like just not healing from my past. I like everybody was out to get me, or
Hmm.
nobody really truly cares about me.
Nobody
Nobody
ever loved
cares.
me.
Yeah, nobody ever
Yeah.
loves me. Like nobody this, nobody that. And now I'm gonna say this: not everybody does, and not everybody cares about you. In that sense of
That is
wanting
true.
you to get to that next level. But on the flip side of that, not everybody's out to get you either.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that a lot of people struggle with that is because they haven't healed from past relationships, past hurts, past trauma. And so they're constantly looking behind their back. They're constantly thinking somebody's out to get them. They're
Mhm.
afraid to let people in. They're afraid, whether it's any type of relationship, romantic type, friendship type, any type, they're afraid to let people in because they walk in that fear. And as we all know, God does not give us a spirit of fear, but He gives us one of love, power, and sound mind.
Amen. Amen.
And so whenever you're unhealed, you walk in that fear. You might not realize it. You can be like, oh, I have no fear. Because I used to be that person. I'm not afraid of nothing. But I really was. I walked in that fear. I was afraid somebody was going to come get me. I was too afraid to let people get close to me because I was afraid of what they might do or what they might not do. And it really stopped a lot of things that I could have done. Um, and a lot of friendships and a lot of situations that could have really took me somewhere. However, I know and believe that everything happens for a reason,
Amen. Yes.
but I do know that whenever you aren't healed from things and you don't take the time to understand that not everybody is like that person, not everybody is going to do you like that person did you. Uh, you'll feel very free, like you were talking about being
Hmm.
free, because it I know for myself, it sucked so bad to walk in so much paranoia and so much fear. It was very crippling, very crippling.
Hmm.
Um, didn't want to go places because you were too afraid something was going to happen to you because of what had happened to you in the past. And that is just a horrible way to live, a very horrible way to live, making you be afraid to live life, and living life is a blessing, and being able to get up every morning and breathe Some people don't. Some people don't get that opportunity. Some people didn't wake up this morning, and the fact that we did, we're very blessed. And it it will be very hard to get to where you're trying to go in life, because holding on to your past and holding on to the things that someone else did, even the things that you did, because I mean, we all made mistakes. Some of our trials and tribulations were not because what anybody did to us, but it's because of what we done, right? And even holding on to those things, you start to belittle yourself and you down talk yourself, and you don't believe that you can accomplish the things that maybe is in the back of your mind or that God put on your heart. You don't believe that you can do it. So therefore, you're not going to do it. You're not going to chase those dreams. You're not going to go after that dream or that fantasy, whatever you want to call it. You're not going to chase after it because you don't believe in yourself. You have no faith in you to be able to get to the next level that God has for you, that next spot, the next season. Um, I think a lot of people believe that their trial, their tribulation, what they're experiencing now, their situation now is like going to be there forever. But it's just a season. There's many, many seasons in our life, and they have many, many different reasons. And when you are healed and when you begin to try to heal, you realize that just because the situation looks like something doesn't mean that that's what that situation is. It could look like it's falling apart and your whole world's crashing down. But on the other side of that, God's like, I'm just letting it fall into place. I'm removing things and I'm putting things back in there because I need this to go away. That's done. It served its purpose. We're done with that. Now I need to put something else in your life, and you're just stuck in this, and you're not trying to see possibly what I'm trying to do. And we I really truly believe we stop things that God's trying to bring into our life. Now we can't stop God's plan. However, I feel like we might can delay it a little bit because God's like, okay, you're not listening to me,
Yeah.
so let me just let you do your thing, and I'm going to pull you back into this narrow path that I have for you.
It's like how stubborn do you want to be, and how much do you want to. I think for me, was a good realization for me later on. I think one of the biggest things was fear. Um, it had become, I had convinced myself that the things that happened to in the past and me growing up and even through adult life was who I was, right? And so the fear of change, right? So when I would try to make a change, try to face those fears, try to face those, those conflicts that I was dealing with, the fear would come in. Well, what if it does go away, or what if I do? What if that pain does stop? What's on the other side of that? Because I've dealt with it for so long, it becomes normal. And stepping outside of normal and consistency sometimes can be a little fearful. Now, I didn't recognize it as fear. I'm a little stubborn, just a little bit. So it was, oh, I'm not afraid. Like you said earlier, I'm not afraid. But deep down inside, if we're being honest with myself, it was fear. What was to come? So I was so used to living in that misery and living in that, the worthlessness, or whatever the case may be, that became our normal. So it sadly, it was awkwardly, strangely comfortable. I think the comfortability I got out of it was the fact that I knew what to expect. Right. I went into things, whether it been jobs or relationships or friendships or whatever the case may be, in the back of my mind with, hey, this is going to fail anyway. So why even, why should I apply myself, or why should I? So when it did fail, it was like, oh, see, I knew it. No big deal. It was trying to, I guess, avoid uh, any kind of disappointment or that could have came from succeeding, as crazy as that sounds. That actually did sound crazy when I said it out loud, but I mean that's really what it was,
Yeah, I
right?
think a lot of people deal with
It
that.
was just the success, right? So I was good at failure. I was good at messing up things. I was good at not completing things. I was good at half butting things. I gotta figure out, but I was good at that, or I had been taught or trained to be good at that, right? Allow that training and that thought process to become who I was, not who I truly was or was going to be, but in that season, as you said. So, and then just admitting, right, admitting that I had a problem with facing things from my past, and admitting that, and even admitting that things in my past actually affected me the way it did,
Hmm.
right? So even like I know that was no big deal, but then when I was alone or when something would come up, that memory would flash back, and I'd be like, oh, well, I'm thinking about that. Well, obviously, it's something I need to deal with. So I think fear was one of my biggest issues. Um, Embarrassment, I used to always say I didn't care what people thought about me. That was a front at that point in time. Um, it really was. I think that's that one of those walls I just kind of put up to,
Hmm.
like, oh, your opinion doesn't matter, but deep down inside, I'm like, man, that kind of hurt. You know what I'm saying? Why would you say that? But
Yeah.
yeah, so once I was able to overcome my fear, it got a lot easier to accept the things that I recognize the things that I didn't think bothered me from the past that truly had a huge, huge effect and impact on my life at that season in my
Hmm.
life. So you know, there's that.
Like you were talking about admitting, you know what I'm saying, or dealing with those feelings instead of just acting like it didn't happen or it
Mm-hmm.
didn't bother you. Um, I think that's one of the big things is that we don't deal with it at that moment, or maybe we didn't react to it in such a way that we were like, oh yeah, that really hurt, or that really bothered me, or that really affected me, because maybe it was so traumatic, or in that moment we couldn't deal with it, so we just kind of shoved it, in a box again, and we didn't take the time to feel it. And a lot of the times I think that we don't want to feel it because, first of all, it's very hard. It's very hard to deal with feelings. Um, and some people think that it's impossible, but it's really not impossible.
Mm-hmm.
It's definitely possible. You just have to realize that your past doesn't define you. um I feel like our past is used to refine us. Our past is used to help us see things from a godly perspective, because whenever we look at it through our own carnal eyes and we're trying to just see it as people see it, as we see it, um it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to a lot of us. We're like, I don't understand why I had to go through that. I don't understand why I had to deal with that. Why me? Like, why me? Why did I have to be, why did that have to get done to me? Why did I have to get put in that situation? And I mean, it could just go on and on. Um, but you have to really have that godly perspective. You have to truly understand that everything serves a purpose. Even the things that seem so small and minute, just it all serves a purpose. One of my favorite scriptures is Genesis 50:20, and it talks about ye meant it for evil, but God intended it for good, for what is being done now, the saving of many lives. And that scripture, I mean, it just sums it up all in one scripture, that everything that the devil tries to use to bring you down, to crash you, to break you, to everything, just to hurt you in so many different ways. God uses that because he is using that to build you up, to stretch you, to mold you, to equip you, to give you resilience, to be able to show you how strong you are, and also to show you how much you really do need him. And every trial and every tribulation, every pain, every hurt, every trauma, every broken heart, everything was because you needed to go through that. You needed to experience that because God knew. I mean, he wrote your whole story, like from the beginning to the end. He knows the entire thing. He knew everything that was going to happen to you, when it was going to happen to you, and he knew that you were going to come out on the other side. And maybe you're in a storm now. Maybe you're in a trial right now, and you're in a situation, a season, and you're just feeling like it's just hard and you don't see no way out. Well, the best advice I could give you is to get into that Bible and read it. And if you don't know who God is, I pray that you do come to know who God is, because knowing who God is and looking at things from a godly perspective, it's a whole new thing. Um, being able to understand that, well, being able to understand that you're not always going to understand, first of all. Um,
Right.
but being able to understand that God is your protector, your provider, your waymaker, your everything. And There's nothing that ever happened in your life that he doesn't already know. And he already knows that you're going to get out of that situation if you'll just trust him. And in order to be who God has called you to be, in order to be who God created you to be, you have to go through every single trial, tribulation, mess up, heartache, heartbreak, like all of the things. You have to go through all of those to be able to be who God created you to be. You have to go through it to get to it, right? And once you realize that, then you can kind of start looking at situations with a different light. Like, okay, Lord, this is really messed up and it really sucks. But I know you got to be doing something. I know there's something that you're doing here. There's good that's going to come out of this. And like I said, you're not always going to understand. Most of the time, you don't understand. You don't get why you had to go through something until you get years down the road and you've healed from it and you've overcame it and you've dealt with it and felt the feels and all those kinds of things. Then you can look back and be like, oh, okay, so that's why I had to go through that. You know what I mean? Like, for instance, like Tyree had to go through things he had to go through. I had to go through things. The domestic violence, the sex trafficking, addiction. I had to go through all of that. So that way I could be the woman that I am now, the woman of God that God has called me to be able to have the ministry, to open the women's home that's coming, all of those things. Everything had to happen. I had to go through that. If not, how could I sit there and talk to somebody else that God placed in my life to help them through that? How can Tyree sit there and talk to a man that has dealt with addiction and suicide and all these? How can he sit there and talk to somebody and get them to connect with him and open up to him if he never went through that? And if you don't have God and you don't understand that, you're still not going to get what I'm saying, because it just, to the carnal mind, it just doesn't make sense sometimes. But knowing and believing and trusting in God's plan and what he has for you it can make or break you. And I said that because I don't even know better words to say right now, but healing is key, very key, in you beginning or even put your toe in the water of walking into who God created you to be. Because if you're not healed, you're not going to believe in yourself. You're not going to believe in your story. You're not going to believe in your calling. You're not going to believe in your purpose. You're not going to believe in who God says you are. You're going to still be stuck on who the world says you are, or who that person says you are, or maybe even yourself. Maybe you're the one that down talked yourself so much because of your past. If you don't heal, you're going to constantly walk in that. And when you walk in your past and you focus on your past and focus on the situations that you've dealt with, you can't get to the next spot. You can't. You won't elevate. You won't move forward. You won't do anything if you don't learn how to deal and get over and overcome the things that you've dealt with. And you're probably like, Heather, how do I do that? Well, first of all, you have to admit that things happen to you. You have to admit what you've done. You have to admit what they've done to you. You have to speak it out of your mouth. You don't got to tell nobody. You can tell the air. You know what I mean? Just speaking it out of your mouth and getting it out is, I believe, one of the first steps in trying to heal. You have to get it out. You've held it in for so long. You haven't talked about it. You haven't dealt with it. You haven't felt it. So you just got to speak it out of your mouth. Speak it out. Get it out. Cry it out. Scream it out. People tell me that all the time. I'm just going to cry. Well, cry and scream. Let me feel like I got to cry. And let me feel like I got to scream. Listen, honey, I'm going to go outside and I'm going to scream at the top of my lungs. The neighbors are probably like, that woman's crazy. But if I feel like that's what I need to do, that's what I'm going to do. Because we can't hold that stuff in. You've got to let it out. You've got to get it out. And second, I would say you've got to have a relationship with God. Well, first and foremost, you got to have a relationship with God first, even before the screaming and the crying and the yelling. But if you're not quite there where you want to have a relationship with God yet, please cry, scream, and yell if that's what you feel like you got to do. But having a relationship with God is going to make a big difference, because whenever you start doing that and you lean into who God says you are, your mind, it's the renewing of the mind. You start to no longer believe what this person said or that person said or even you said, and you start to know for a fact, like you know that who God says you are is what's real and true. Not what they said, not what you said, not what he said, not what she said, but what God said. That's what's most important.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I mean, sucked in on that one. Um, oh man, that was beautiful. I thought. Um, relationship with God. Hmm. So that was. It's never been a struggle for me. I was fixed to say a struggle. It didn't struggle, but I will tell you this. I will say this. When I healing. So what was important for me to remember is healing is for myself initially. Now I'm sure that there were bridges that I had to cross where I feel like there should have been. That's not should. Where I feel like there was going to be mutual healing.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully, some bridges that you just. I mean, it is what it is. But the effort in trying to put that healing out there, um, walk in relationship with God for me. So I guess I had this grand vision that hey, once I started walking with God, that everything was just going to be fall in line and be hunky
Mm-hmm.
dory, and that all my troubles and worries and sorrows would just fall off. And um, I can't speak for anybody else, but for me, I'm going to say that's absolutely false. It does not. It actually got at the moment in that time, it seemed like it got a lot worse. Um, but after we make it through a storm and through that season, looking back, as you said a while ago, um, it wasn't. It was all for a reason. I was that why me person.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what did I do? Why me? Why is this happening to me? Like, what did I didn't even do nothing? Why is this like? Why is this fault?
Mm-hmm.
And now hindsight, um, it's one of those. Well, what did I learn from that? Um, and as you said, me being able to speak and you be able to speak to people, I think it'd be really hard um, to sit in front of someone, like for me being abused as a child by my father. I think it'd be really hard for me to sit down in front of, a young teenager or even a younger man or even
Mm-hmm.
a older man, whatever the case may be, right? And sit there and actually relate to them when they're, or have someone open up to me, but when I've never experienced that, or my drug addiction I went through, and trying to sit down in front of someone and say, hey, look, I'm living proof right here, with turn to God, it can happen. You know what I'm saying? It just be for me, it'd be far fetched or hard for me to try to, sit down there in front of someone and tell them everything's gonna be okay when I've never really experienced it. So now when I look back at these things and all those why me's have turned into the lessons, the pillars in the past that remind me of everything that God's brought me through. Um, and that's a beautiful thing. And it's not easy. I'm not gonna sit here and try to say it's a cakewalk, or at least for me, it's not a cakewalk. It was an uphill battle there for a while. A lot of it was me trying to deal with me getting out the way and facing things. I deal with this situation, or these feelings and those feelings. But when I came around to the third set of feelings, I was like, let's just bypass that. Let's move on to something that's a little easier, right? And so that for me, that was the way I should have did it, because regardless, if those feelings aren't dealt with, whether it's a year, a month, or 10 years down the road, there's going to be something that triggers that, or something that comes up, and then you could be having 5 years of what you perceive to be living your best life, and then going into that 5.5 years, somebody says a comment, or you see something, or there's anything that's going to trigger that, and it can have the potential, if you let it, to drag you back down to where you don't want to be, and it's all because you want to sidestep that one, right? So it's not about perfection. As we all know, no one's perfect. I think the important part is progress,
Yeah.
and then healing from all that, and the progress that you take, or the speed of your progress. Um, I would say for me, don't let anybody dictate that.
Mm-hmm.
Right? What took me, 2 years to get over, may take someone else 5, or it may take someone 2 months, or even 2 weeks. And then once you face it, it may take you 2 days or 2 hours. You may go outside and scream and cry, and why, and then come back in and be like, you know what? Okay. I'm good with that, right? But it may take me 2 years to do the same thing with the same issue or the same not the, same sort of issue process. But so it's definitely at your own. It's you and God. Um, but I'm gonna put it out there. I know without God, it's not for me. It's not possible.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't until I turned to God and was like, man, look, I don't know how people pray or talk, but I talk to God like I'm talking to a homeboy. Like I be in my car and just turn the radio down for a minute. I'm like, man, look, you know what? I'm just gonna be here with you right now. I'm struggling. Like I'm going through
Yeah.
some things right now. And like I just need some help. I need some guidance, like, or let something start, didn't deal with something 100%. Maybe I'm at like a 98%. That last 2% is trying to kick my door in.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, look, I just need some help. Like, I don't know what to do. I'm at my wit's end, and so that's my conversation, and even my prayers or whatever with God is. Um, it's just like I'm sitting down talking to my best friend.
That's right.
I just, it's not a. I'm not saying I don't get on my knees and pray, or don't. I'm just saying on, and then it's what works for one person may not always work for someone else,
That's
right?
right.
But it's comforting for me to sit down and relate or open up or talk to someone who may not been in an identical situation, but they've been in situations similar, right? Because no two situations are ever 100%
Right.
the same, right?
Right.
So it was just easier for me to sit down with someone. And like you said, a lot of things that I dealt with, I thought I was going to sit down and talk with someone, but I really didn't. I'd sit down, in the bedroom, and something would come across the TV and it remind me of something. I'd pause the movie or pause what I was watching and be like, God, can we talk about this? Like, can we just work this out? I mean, I've
Yeah.
spent many days and countless hours sitting by myself just talking, and I've had a few people walk in on me talking, and they're like, yeah, I'm good. You good? Like, I mean, yeah, I'm good. Like, I'm just trying to get this out, right? So, because, there's, you know, God has a perfect record, right? Undefeated, um, never dropped the ball, never missed a call, nothing. So, I dealt with, and that's another thing with self for me. I did it my way for so long, right? Oh, I dealt with that. It's good. Oh no, it's not. And so definitely, I was definitely living a life of insanity. Um, that was another breaking point for me. I was like, man, look, I've tried it this way for so long, right? And it's kind of one of those last resorts. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I'll tell you what. Because throughout this, I can hear God talking to me. I just choose not to listen. Um, and I got to a point I was like, you know what? Okay, look, that's the stubbornness in me, right? I've tried it my way for the past, 20 plus years. Okay, I'll tell you what. Okay, let's try it this way for a while, right? And I noticed that it wasn't like me walking and laying all my burdens and problems and sorrows and pains at God's feet, and then just walking away and I was hunky dory, right? I'd lay it down, 2, 3 months. I might decide to go take a little toe back or something and be like, hey, let's deal with this for a minute, but it's definitely a process. And for me, it's always about progression and not perfection. Because I'm not perfect. And I can't, and here on earth, I'll never be perfect. So I'll make mistakes, um, and I'll probably hurt feelings, and I'll probably make a few people mad, right? And there'll be a couple more times I might have to go back and go, whatever. I apologize. I really shouldn't have said that. I got caught up in the moment. So it's not like once you deal with everything you know that once you got all the past dealt with, that everything else is just going to flow smoothly, right?
Yeah.
It's as you said, it's a renewing of your mind, right? So it's not that I don't have those issues anymore. I don't have people that say those hurtful things to me anymore out of anger or frustration or whatever emotion they're going through or anyone else is going through, right? It's not that it doesn't bother me, but with that renewed mind, I just know that I can deal with it better, right? So, and I come to the fact that, hey, look, what I said may have hurt your feelings, so you popped off, said something back, But instead of exploding, going back and forth, I try to take the time, pause for a minute. Hey, look, what what happened? What did we do? Like, what did I do? What did it? So it's just it's a different outlook. It's a different perspective on things. It's that um, it's just it's a different perspective. It's more of a more of a hey, look, let God take the wheel for a minute and see if we can't figure out what's going on here. Move self out the way. Let me decrease so He can increase, and it's just it's definitely a progress. It's not impossible though, and that's the beauty about it, right? So undefeated record. God's an undefeated record, right? So it's His time. It's His time. It's because I don't know what everyone's relationship with God. So I'm just gonna speak for me, right? So everything has a purpose and a plan, right? And I'll be the first to tell you, uh, God doesn't like to see His children suffer. He doesn't want pain and suffering and destruction and chaos and turmoil and those are not things that our Father wants at all, by no means. If you want to jump on the other spectrum of that, with your love and joy and peace and those, yeah, we can talk about that on but there's no destruction, confusion, or you know, yeah, it's just so those are struggles that I had. Mindset change, definitely, definitely. And it's soul searching, trying to figure out if I could figure out my niches, or what phrases or tones of voice, or um, you know, from it changes you. My big thing was yelling. When I got my anger was for me. If I got mad or if I got hurt, sad, upset, a little bit too happy, right? It was crazy. I get mad. Um, so that was my thing. So, and it's not that today what people say don't upset me. I just choose not to yell anymore. I choose not to be that person that, with the help of God, we fought so hard because I promise you, He fought a lot harder for me than I did sometimes in my life. Probably my whole life, for being honest. But just for being real. But all the work that He put into me, and all the work that I did with myself, I refuse to do it. So, but like I said, I'm not perfect, and I have my faults, many faults. Just my outlook on things and how I receive things and how I choose to, respond to those things, negative, saddening, indifferent, whatever the case may be. How I choose to respond to that is what I have control over, and how I choose to let that affect me. Amen. And how long I let that affect me, right? So, and then those things that I choose not to yell at may affect me a little bit more. So that's those times when at night before I go to bed, when I'm laying in bed, or riding in the car, or at work, or whatever the case may be, I may be like, God, this is really affecting me, right? I really wanted to scream, but I know I can't do that, So, but I need a little extra help, processing this or getting this out, or whatever the case may be. So, but yeah, definitely, it's definitely something that baby step, crawl, roll. I mean, like whatever, however, whatever it takes. Sometimes you may be able to take leaps and bounds, and some days you just may be able to shuffle a quarter inch, right? And it's not about the quarter inch or the mile, or the leaps and the bounds, or it's not about that, right? It's about the progression, right? Trying to be a little bit better tomorrow than you were the day before. Trying to deal with things just a little bit more. I'm gonna deal with this today, but that's stressing me out. Okay, so just don't stop dealing with things, right? Mm-hmm. Just try to find something else that may not be bugging you as bad, and try to deal with it, work on it, and then come back to it, right? So, and that's the important thing for me. It was just make sure you always circle back to something that you may have bypassed or set aside for a minute, right? I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just think it is very important for yourself to heal. It's really hard for me, it was really hard for me to try to mend bridges that I thought I was ready to mend when I really wasn't healed from the situation. Right. So, but yeah, Okay. I feel like y'all long-winded now. So,
You're
but
good. You're good. You had, I think you had said something about like you thought you had dealt with it and you thought you would heal from it, but then
mhm,
it comes back and it kind of bites you, right? Um, I remember I was sitting there watching a movie and I used to not be able to watch movies that involved things that I had dealt with,
mhm,
like my trials and tribulations. I used to not could do that, or if I did, it was going to give me an anxiety attack, right? Um, so I sit down to watch a movie, and it was about a woman having a miscarriage, and in my mind, I'm great, I'm good, right? So I sit down and I watch this movie, and I don't remember what the movie was called or what part of the movie it was, but it was in one part of the movie, and it was after she had that miscarriage. And I just start crying. First, it was like little bitty tears, and then they just start flowing out of my mind, out of my eyes. And I'm just like, wait a minute. I had to pause the movie. I had to sit there for a minute, and I was just like, wait. I'm like, but I thought I dealt with that.
mhm,
I thought that I was okay as far as that goes because I had talked about it before. No tears came out of my eyes. Like I was just, I didn't understand in that moment, or for a few seconds, I didn't understand. And then I was talking to one of my friends, and she's like, maybe you just didn't deal with it on the level that you needed to deal with it. And then I remember it. I was like, oh, you're right. Because whenever that happened, the situation, the season of my life that I was in at that moment when I dealt with that, I couldn't deal with the feelings of having a miscarriage. Um, so I didn't deal with them. I didn't even cry that day that it happened. My mom was like, you didn't even cry. I was like, I know. And I didn't realize how much of an effect it was going to have on me 15, 18 years ago. And so whenever I got done having a conversation with my friend, I literally had to come in my room. I had to turn the lights off, and I sat in the dark with just me and God and my screams and my cries and my wails and my I forgive yous and my I'm dealing with this. It's okay. I had to deal with all of that in that moment. I couldn't wait no longer because I didn't want that to happen again. And it just made me realize that if you are if you think you're okay from something that you've healed from, and something happens, you watch a movie, you hear a song, you see something on TV, you a smell, a taste of anything like that that causes that type of reaction, you've probably not healed from it as much as you think you have. Now don't get me wrong, there's times that I've like maybe talked about something on a podcast or been interviewed or something and it brings a few little tears to my eyes. That's not what I'm talking about. Because we can be healed from something, but it still be a little bit of an ache there. You know what I mean? But if it literally makes you cry and wail and scream and you feel like some type of way about it, you might not have healed from it as much as you think you have, if you've even healed at all from it. So definitely take the time in those moments to deal with those feelings then, because as we know, shoving them under a rug, putting them in the closet, putting them in a box, all of that doesn't work because, like I just said, it will come back and it will bite you in the rear end. You hear me? And like Tyree said, it's not gonna. Well, it's different for everyone. Um, it might take somebody 5 years, 2 years, 3 months, 3 hours, 2 days, 1 minute, 5 minutes to heal from something or to
yeah,
get past something. But if it takes you those 3 years or 4 years or 5 years and you have to crawl some days or you have to like stick one toe out and scoot yourself, whatever you have to do, those baby steps are still steps. They still count. You're still moving in that right direction of healing. Healing is hard. Healing is not easy. And if anybody has ever told you that, they're lying because it's not easy. It's actually one of the hardest things I've ever had to do was to try to heal from my past. However, it was very freeing and
yes, definitely.
allowed me to begin to walk towards my calling and to run after God because for a minute, for a long time, I wouldn't really say it, but now thinking about it, I was really running from God because I was afraid of, I don't know, maybe afraid of getting past the things. Like I held on to that for so long. It was that crutch. It was what made me feel comfortable. I was used to that pain. I was used to feeling that way. And so I didn't want to deal with it. I didn't want to deal with it. It was nice for me to use it as a crutch for whatever I needed. I'm acting this way because of that. I'm acting this way because of that. I'm doing this because of that. I don't want to do this because of that. And then other people just end up having to deal and suffering consequences because we choose not to heal from things. Um, and I wanted to say when you were talking about you don't know if you would want to sit down with somebody that hadn't dealt at least with similar things that you've dealt with.
Mm-hmm.
And I know for myself, I don't know about y'all, but just think about, would you want to sit down with somebody that had never been through anything you've ever been through? And I say that, trust me, I'm getting to a point, okay? So just stay with me. Would you want to sit down with somebody who has never been with anything you've ever experienced? Like Tyree said, just because somebody has been through sex trafficking or suicide or abuse or addiction does not mean that they've been through what we've been through, right? Because it looks different for everybody. However, would you want to sit down with somebody that has never been through anything that you've been through and to get it out, to heal, to talk to vent, to make you feel better, to whatever? I know I wouldn't. I don't think that I could get over something or deal with something talking to somebody that has no clue about what I've been through. I've been in a situation trying to talk to somebody about something that I've been through, and they either undermine it, belittle it. Oh, it wasn't that. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. Listen, I don't care if you went through something that somebody else went through and that other person thinks it wasn't nothing. If you feel like it was something and you feel like it affected you in a way to where it really took you back and made you feel some type of way, then you are very much entitled to feel how you feel about whatever you went through, no matter if somebody else thinks it wasn't nothing. Different things affect people in different ways. So don't ever let anybody tell you that what you went through was not that important. It wasn't that bad. It doesn't matter. It was not that serious. If it made you feel some type of way, it was that bad. It was that serious, and it's that important. Okay. Yes. First of all. And I just want to say that we've said it the whole time, like healing is so important. So important. God has things in this world for you that he wants you to have, that he created you for, that he created you to have. There are people in this world that are waiting for you to get to the point in your life to where you're healed from it and you could reach back and pull them out of the trenches that you have climbed out of. And I'm not going to say you don't have to be completely healed to reach back and help somebody. So please don't think that. If you felt led to, or the urge to, or a pull, however you want to say it, to help somebody, please help that person. God doesn't wait until you're all healed and over your past and overcame everything before he can use you. So he just might be trying to use you in a mighty way while you're going through your healing, or maybe even while you're in your mess. So don't undermine that, but definitely seek that healing out. Without a shadow of a doubt, seek that healing out. God uses all the things that you've been through in your life to help you to be the person that he created you to be able to stand on stages, to own a ministry, to own a business, to whatever it may be. God uses every single part of your story, every single part of it, to mold you into who he created you to be. So if you are someone who has never dealt with your past, has never healed from your past, it's time. It's time that you heal from it. It's time that you deal with those feelings. Whether you go to your pastor, whether you go to a therapist, whether you go to a friend, whoever it may be that you feel that you can go to, please go to them and please seek out the next step, whether it's your first step or your next step in healing. It's very important. It's very important.
Absolutely.
You are important and you matter, and your healing is important. So that way you can be your best self. You can't be the best you. You can't be the best you for somebody that needs you if you haven't healed from your past. It will continue to have a stronghold on you. It will continue to have a grip on you. You will continue to wear those chains if you don't deal with your past, if you don't heal from it. It's not easy. It's hard, but it's very worth it, very freeing. And once you realize all the things that comes with you healing and what God has for you, you're going to look back and be like, man, I wish I'd have did that a long time ago. Man, I wish I'd have started healing a long time ago. Because if I would have known then what I know now and what God had for me, I would have did that a long time ago. Okay. I love you guys. And I really, truly appreciate you coming every week and watching. I pray that you know that you're worthy, you're enough, you matter. And always, always remember that you walk in authority. God bless you, and I will see you next week. Bye.